you feel like this is happening with this person because they're not married to you yet, that when they eventually get married to you, they are going to change. They're going to automatically become a different person because now marriage has changed them. So you begin to condone and bear unbearable things, hoping that eventually marriage will wave the magic wand that would make them a better person, a more honest person, a more faithful person.
When I have an issue is when, because you're married, you feel like someone else who is not married is less, or you have achieved more than the single ladies, maybe your age mate who are not married. You feel like, they never arrive, or that you are superior to them because marriage gives you that status. It's like the man behind you is what actually gives the woman value.
There are people who genuinely want to be married because they want family, and when they don't have that, they feel like
something is missing
in their lives. But there are people who want to get married by all means, just for society, for the perception, for the sake of what it looks like and the value that's attached to it.
And with that, you also come to people who believe that making marriage work, even though they know their marriage is awful, but because they have found better ways to
swallow the bitter pill.
Yes.
Welcome to Besty and Smoke podcast.
Talking the BS.
Welcome to the Besty and Smoke podcast, the BS podcast. How are you doing today? We do hope you are having a great experience, because that's what life is about. It's about having beautiful times, great moments. And talking of which, I've got my co-host, the B in the BS.
Yes, of course, that's me, the B in the BS. And I'm Besty, and you're welcome to the Besty and Smoke podcast. Now, talking about life and its wonders, the good experiences, there's also bad experiences. So if you are someone who you're going through it currently, well, remember, like good times, bad times also do not last. So today we're at it again. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. As good as I possibly could. How about you?
Well, I'm kicking better than you because you're a bit under the weather.
Yeah, I'm fine. So what are we talking about today?
Of course, we are going to look further into things people wish they knew before marriage.
That's right. Pre-marriage myths, lies you were told about marriage.
Absolutely.
This is the second edition, or should I say, the second half of this particular topic, because we started off talking about it last time on the previous episode. And we are carrying that conversation over to this timeout because we couldn't finish.
Yes.
So, pre-marriage myths. Lies you were told about marriage. First off, what is a myth? A myth is a popular opinion that is not true, believed to be so. A popular opinion believed to be true, but which is untrue. That's what a myth is. And we have all kinds of myths. We have different old wives' tales about life. Those popular, sometimes they are cultural, sometimes they are religious, sometimes they are political, but you have stories that have absolutely no base in reality, but people believe them. And in our present times, you have pop culture and television and social media generating myths, untruths, popular untruths that people tend to hold close to their chests. But we've been talking about pre-marriage myths that you encountered or you were told, or lies that seemed to be true that you were told before you got married.
Yes.
Or before you get married. If you're not married, you probably are hearing those myths right now.
Yes, if you're yet to be married, I think it's good to have this conversation, to listen to this talk, to bear it in mind that all that glitters is not gold, because you get to have it and prepare yourself mentally. Now, they say marriage is like a house. You have no idea what's inside, and people might tell you that, oh, inside there is this beautiful mirror, or there is this wonderful couch, or there is this, beautiful flower stand, but you don't know till you get into it, and what works for A might not work for you. So we get into talking about those stuff that you need to be aware of before you get married. Prepare yourself mentally so you wouldn't get sold on something that ain't what it is.
And last time we were here, we talked about some popular myths. We talked about the happily ever after myth, which is one of those Cinderella stories that you encounter in the movies where a woman gets married, a man gets married, and they live happily ever after.
That's marriage kind of provides that
Bliss.
everlasting happiness for you. Once you're married, everything, all of your worries, so to say, are gone.
But we discovered in the course of our conversation, and of course, if you've been living your life and you've been married, you definitely agree with us that there is absolutely nothing like happily ever after.
Yes.
Sorry
after
to burst your
marriage,
bubble.
life goes on.
Yeah. The second one we touched on was marriage solves all problems. And that's one of the greatest fallacies I've ever encountered in life. Marriage doesn't solve all your problems. As a matter of fact, marriage adds to your problems.
I wonder where that came from. I keep on thinking, isn't it too on the nose for someone to believe that marriage solves all their problems? I mean, money doesn't even do that.
People believe that marriage has a magic wand that makes all their problems go away. I don't know where that came from, but it seems to exist.
All right.
And the
Wow.
third and last one from the previous episode was communication
being easy.
is easy. That's a big myth. Communication and easy in marriage. It's not easy outside of marriage, and it is not easy within marriage. So that's a recap on
Last episode?
Yeah, from the same conversation, pre-marriage myths. Remember, these are popular opinions that are not true, but which are so popular, everybody believes them. We're
Yes.
going to the number 4, but for the sake of today, we're going to take it as a number 1 point
And
today.
that is that marriage brings financial prosperity. Well,
Marriage brings financial prosperity.
we're about to destroy some people, if not most young persons' idea. You know, there's this talk that men, I think it mostly goes to guys, get married. He who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Yeah.
Once you get married, there's a way, you know, miraculously things work themselves out. You find yourself getting extra.
On a personal note, I heard that quite a bit when I was single, and every time somebody asks me, when are you going to get married? And I'm like, nah, I'm not ready yet. I'm still trying to put my coins together, not for the marriage itself, for the wedding itself, but for life after the wedding. You know, because responsibilities will definitely happen when you are married. So I would always say, nah, man, I'm not ready yet. I've got to plan for the kids. I've got to plan for the new family. I've got to plan for all kinds of responsibilities that come with getting married. And they'll be like, nah, man, look, you might be struggling right now. Okay. But once you get married, yeah, your doors
It
will
will open
open.
doors for you.
It's going
Where
to
did
open
that
doors
notion
for
come
you.
from?
And they say, remember what the Bible says, he that finds a good wife finds a good thing and obtaineth
Blessings from God.
from the Lord. So, you know, people keep bandying myths around, and if you are sold on it, right, you just might believe it. Now, I'm not saying that he that findeth a good wife doesn't find a good thing, but that does not translate to you
Having
becoming
financial
prosperous.
prosperity. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think I know where that myth came from, right? Now, when a man, because this is usually said to a man, when a man gets married,
Okay.
you already are positioned for a lot of responsibilities. So if you were hustling, if your hustle was at 25% when you were taking care of yourself alone, you're going to double, even triple or quadruple
Because you have to factor in other things.
your hustle. Because you know now you have a wife, and you're probably are going to be having kids, and you have extended family responsibilities. And if you are living in a 2-rooms apartment or in a room and parlor
You've got to
apartment, you have
upgrade.
to expand that to accommodate the incoming family.
So that's seen from the outside or from the outsider view. as you being blessed because you're married.
Yeah. So what that does for you is you position yourself. So if you were doing one job, you start doing two jobs. If you are hustling, if you woke up around 9 o'clock before you were married, you wake up now around 5. If you went to bed around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., that's when you were not having your bachelor's raves, right? You'd probably be going to bed around 12 a.m. now. Why? Because you want to stretch out the time and maximize your time, or just basically double the hustle in order to make more money, because you are mindful of responsibilities. Now, at the end of the day, because you are trying harder or you are working more, you are eventually going to reap the benefits of that extra labor.
Okay.
And when that happens, people looking at your life would say, oh, he got married and he became more prosperous than he was before.
Okay.
It's just that the work got intensified.
I'm sorry.
It's not because a wife brings prosperity.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a way in society, there's this thing a married man could actually get considered for, but a single man can't get that.
I'm not being considered for anything since I got married.
No, it's like when you're looking for a job, for instance, and when you're single, you can actually get flexible with it sometimes when it comes to pay. But sometimes you can use marriage as having extra responsibility as a bargaining chip. Like, I can't take less because I have family. I'm not going
to pay you more than you are worth because you have a family.
Yes, sometimes people underpay people because they believe they're single.
What I'm saying is, right, if you agree to taking less, that's your cup of tea. But if I was an employer, I'm not going to pay you above your value just because I heard that you are married. That's number one. So if being married positions you mentally to ask for more when you are negotiating your pay, right? More than you would have when you were single, because you're now greedy for more. Being mindful of the things that you have to do. It's not being married that does it. It's still you doubling your hustle.
Okay.
You're doubling down because you know that you have all kinds of things to do. So it's not married doing it. It's your shift in mental, the shift in your psyche, your thoughts, your ideas now, your perspective on life now. Not necessarily marriage making that happen, but it's all you. The place you were mentally, the place where you were mentally previously and where you are now are two different locations. And this new location, because you know that if you sleep on a bicycle, you crash.
Yeah. So
what do you do?
More. You
stay awake.
I get that. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it on the marriage bringing prosperity to you. If you want that extra, penny, you got to hustle for it, whether single or married.
Why don't you have that mindset that I'm married now? If you're a single dude, I'm married now, and try to start working as though you have a wife and children.
Responsibility.
And see what happens. You see that prosperity will happen for you outside of marriage. But where marriage actually brings prosperities for women, when a woman is married, she actually becomes prosperous, because in our society, a husband takes care of the wife. And when that happens, the wife's immediate circle begins to look at her as someone who has upgraded. Okay. And we talked about black tax last time, which I don't really, I'm not very happy, if I should say, considering some things with that terminology, but it is what it is, essentially. But I think for women, I remember when my sister got married, right? I felt like her life had changed. Now, there are some places where a woman gets married. I'm trying to choose my word carefully to avoid being misconstrued, right? Now, there are places where a daughter or a sister gets married, and what happens? Family members and her immediate circle begins to align themselves towards receiving from her, because marriage in our society is prosperity for women. Marriage brings financial upgrade for women. You may not like it, but that's exactly the life we have.
Okay, no comment.
All right. That's weird, but
yeah.
all right.
I know when I'm being set up, so no comment. All right, so you were saying men who work, single men who actually work right now as though they're single because they are single. Why not try to have that mentality that you are married and you see your hustle double? And it hit me. I remember a conversation I was having with a friend, and he's planning to get married hopefully next year. So we were talking about money and finance. I don't know how the conversation started. He was like that he's working extra hard because, he needs to, really tie the knot next year. So I was like, oh, that explains why he was earning more, doing more, like trying to invest in many things, not just, he wasn't
and
just
saving more.
Yeah, he wasn't just
not going
focused
extra
on one source of income. He was looking for multiple sources of income. That was his goal. And he was looking like, oh, he's actually making it happen. No, he was making it happen. He was intentional. What I'm saying is it's an intentional thing. He made an intentional decision. He made an intentional effort to make that extra dough because he had responsibilities, be it a wedding or whatever, but he is moving like someone who has extra responsibility. Yes, like marriage.
And also sometimes when you're a single man, you tend to go overboard with the boys' raves. Yeah, you toss the money around.
You can afford to buy drinks for everyone in the bar.
I remember when I was single and had quite a number of married friends, and they would always come to me to borrow money from me because they felt like I didn't have anything to do with my money. Yeah. So, and I was also somehow psychologically fixed up to give them money because I felt like, okay, these guys,
they're married.
They had lots of things going on. What do you have? Even though I probably had more going on than they did. But because of that mind space, you just buy into the myth.
I will say that actually work both ways, because I do remember friends of mine, they tell me stuff about, okay, can you lend me money? They find it easy to ask you for help or to just let you foot the bill when you guys step out, or you guys say, okay, because you're single, living the single girl life, but immediately you got married and you're now in the league, everybody starts
face that
everybody for themselves. That the way they were treating you before as the girl, everything changed. So I do understand where that could be coming from, but they forget that the same way they have things, it's about priorities. Now their priority is mostly around their family, the kids if they have, or their kid, in my case. But the idea is you also have, in their case, like in my case as the friends. Okay. Now, but in my case, I had other priorities that went, family, like immediate family, kind of marriage related issue. But I still had things I needed to do with money.
Funny thing is that ironically, sometimes when you are not married, when you're single, you actually have more responsibilities than married people, but they don't know it.
They don't know it. They're like, what are you doing with your money? What are you doing with your money?
They have absolutely no idea. So,
but the thing that is, okay, thing about being single is when you're single, someone can accost you, someone can, just jokingly tell you, what do you do with your money? You just, you're a single girl, that kind of stuff. But when you are now married, the responsibilities you have, they are born out of expectations. Like it's a must do. It's not something you can, choose not to do. You get that?
No option.
Yeah, you're not giving any option. But when you're single, you have that liberty to, you know what, let me just do me. That's just the difference. So, well, that's pretty much it in terms of marriage bringing prosperity. I'm not going to say that sometimes people, it can't be a coincidence that you got married and you got a new job. You got things happening for you that, didn't happen when you were single. But that doesn't mean that God choosing to bless you now, he wouldn't have done that. There are stages in life. There is a particular stage where you get in life and some things happen for you.
I think it's about being intentional with your pursuits. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. Nothing ever falls down into your lap.
Yes, but sometimes
from heaven.
Sometimes there are things that happen to you
I don't believe it.
Okay, that's you, but I do believe that. That's why we are different people. Now, I remember when I recently lost my mom, people were telling me, oh, it's going to open doors for you, which was strange to me. Like, why would you say that? Why would God, in his infinite mercy, wait till I lose of everyone, my mom, for him to choose to open doors for me? I didn't get that. Until today, I still don't get that. So I'm saying that sometimes you find things happening.
Did God open doors for you?
God opened doors for me, but not because I lost my mom.
Okay.
Not because I lost my mom. No, that's what I'm saying. So sometimes, coincidentally, we find ourselves.
So you didn't work for it.
I worked for it. I worked for it. But wait, I worked for it. Let me just a minute. Let me explain how this might happen. You might be pursuing something for the longest time. And let's say during that period, you decide to not really pay attention to it. Just don't think about it. It happens. You forget the pursuit, you forget that you've been pursuing it for the longest time. But because in 3-4 months, you've chosen to give up and it happens without no explanation, nothing. So in that case, that was what it was.
This is Besty and Smoke podcast.
Talking the BS. So that takes us to the second one for today. The second one is marriage changes you.
Yeah, people believe that once you get married, that it switches you. Yeah, it makes you a better person, makes you responsible. I don't know where that came from, but society seems to believe it, that marriage has a way to flip the script on you and turn you into a new person, a better version of your old person, of your old self.
Yeah, certainly. There's this idea or this notion that people have that once you're married, you automatically get changed to a different person. It's just a complete switch, a 180. But that's not the case. They say, you look for the black goat when there's still daylight. And marriage is not something that, changes one. It can actually attribute to you, changing some things about yourself, but it doesn't really change you.
This is a myth that people tend to buy into. And what that does is it sets you up for failure, sets you up for unhappiness eventually, because you feel like this is happening with this person because they're not married to you yet. They're not committed to you because they're not married to you yet. They're doing this to you now because they're not married to you yet. That when they eventually get married to you, they are going to change. They're going to automatically become a different person because now marriage has changed them. So you begin to condone and bear unbearable things, hoping that eventually marriage will wave the magic wand that would switch the individual and make them a better person, a more honest person, a more faithful person, a more considerate person. But that doesn't ever happen. And then you get married and you discover that this is the same old person, that nothing has changed about them, that they are still the same old inconsiderate brute, that they are still the same old unfaithful girl, that they are still the same old extravagant person, that they still smoke, they still club, they still drink, they still, that basically they are same old them. And you become disenchanted and disillusioned, saying that marriage is not working for you, but you saw the red flags outside the marriage that you should have
paid attention to
and made the necessary decision for yourself. But because you felt that marriage is a magical institution that changes people, you get into it, and then you realize that marriage doesn't really change anybody that doesn't want to be changed.
It gets things worse, because there are people that once they are married, it's like they have nothing else to lose. So either you try to see things as they are with the person you're with. Ask yourself if it's something you can live with. If it's not something you can live with, you start early to, find your way, rather than hoping for marriage to automatically switch them from who they are.
So the long and short of it is that marriage doesn't change anyone.
It doesn't.
Who doesn't want to change. And most times people pretend that they want to change. Mm-hmm. But the most difficult thing in the world is changing old habits.
Old habits die hard, of course.
So if you are fixing on and hoping on someone to change, if you are with them right now and you're hoping that marriage is going to be that change that happens to them, I hate to break it to you. You've been sold a myth, a popular lie. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. So do yourself a favor right now and reprioritize. Realign yourself to reality. Don't do it within marriage. If you want to go on with your plans, by all means, but know that change is not going to happen. That this is actually what exists right now will continue to exist afterwards. I hate to burst your bubble, bro. Or sis.
Well, that brings us to our last one, being that marriage is an achievement.
Marriage is an achievement. When you see
you need to dabble lightly into this, because some people would argue that it is an achievement.
Yeah, of course. I mean, to each his own. I've seen the ladies dancing like their lives depended on it. I've seen women
dancing where?
On their wedding day.
Who? What?
Dancing like life just tossed a pile of treasure on their laps.
I have an issue with that.
I have an issue with someone believing that once they get married, they've arrived, that all their problems have come to an end because they have achieved a higher status, something that has the greatest magical power in the world to make all their problems go away, change the people in their worlds, make society to look at them differently. This is the summation of all the myths.
Sorry to say this, but society will look at you differently.
Yeah,
society will. It's not really, part of it is not a myth. Part of it is actually what society has made it to.
Society does look at you differently, but that doesn't mean it's an achievement. Now, the fact that a lot of people buy into a lie doesn't make it a truth.
Yeah. I would say that marriage is one of those things that it's not compulsory. If you want to do it, you do it. But when I have an issue is when, because you're married, you feel like someone else who is not married is less, has achieved, or you have achieved more than the single ladies. Maybe your age mate who are not married. You feel like, they never arrive. They never see Shanshin. They have not gotten a bit of what you've gotten. Or that you are superior to them because you're married, because marriage gives you that status. That's where I have an issue. And with that, you also come to think of people who believe that making marriage work, even though they know their marriage is awful, but because they have found better ways to
swallow the bitter pill.
Yes. They can now open their mouths wide and say to someone, oh, your marriage failed because you were, I don't get that. So my issue is with people who believe that it's a talking point to diss another person because they're married. And there are lots of women like that. Lots of women.
I also think that society should carry a major or a considerable
portion
part of the blame, because I was in a conversation one time when someone was comparing two ladies, and he said that one was married, and even in spite of the how did that go, that one was married, and that's why he considered her to be worthier of respect, of consideration than the other one who was not married.
So it's no longer something earned.
I found it quite disgusting that anyone should think like that.
But people
that's essentially
do that.
society for
Think
you.
like that.
People tend to regard those who are married more than those who are unmarried. They feel like those who are married are more responsible, and that's that thing about marriage changing you. Sorry to take it back to that spot again. I remember some parents feeling like their sons are too much after the ladies.
Yeah,
and they feel like marriage is going to settle you.
Settle them, get them,
slow them into being
down.
responsible. That once they get married now, they'll stop chasing after women. They'll become more stable in life. But that doesn't happen. Society keeps churning out these myths. And they feel like once a woman is married, she deserves more respect than the one who is single.
Do things, make that myth hold water. Why do I say this? There was an incident with a man and this lady. He kept on saying, if not that you were married, I would have beaten you mercilessly.
When I look at you, I see your husband.
Like, I don't see you. It's like the man behind you is what actually gives the woman value. And such a man saying that, I wonder if the woman wasn't married, he would have truly, truly beaten the woman. So it will make the woman feel like, oh, that marriage, and even any woman or any young girl there, oh, this woman escaped whatever because she was married. Oh, marriage is truly an achievement. Like marriage gives you some, some rep.
Marriage is an achievement. It's not. And when we say that it's society, don't let that deceive you.
I'm sorry. I just remembered something. Two guys, you know them, they were having an issue, and one was telling one that I'm married with kids, because I was talking about women, women feeling like it's an achievement, and actually remember this incident where the guy was saying that we're mates, but I'm married, you're not, I have kids, you don't have kids. But looking at both of them, come on, you could tell that the one who's single has a lot of weight to pull. But because he's not married, he's been like, what have you achieved? What have you done with your life? You've not done much.
Yeah. The lie there is that marriage places value on a human being. And without marriage, you don't get to claim that value. You don't get to have that worth.
I think we all have our value. We all are worth something. We all have things about us, something more beyond marriage. So if you are someone who has this idea that you should accord more respect to a lady because she's married, and the ones who are not, you go about disrespecting them, that's a no-no. If it's something you do and you succeed at it, because some people don't succeed at marriage, but at least you discover new things about yourself. So if it's something you do and it's working for you, then that's maybe to you your achievement. If someone else has different goals for themselves, set for themselves, and they achieve those goals, that's their achievement. So that's pretty much it for me.
So the consequence of this myth in people's lives is that they tend to jump into marriages that are not quite the thing for them. They make a rash decision to achieve, to have that value, to have that worth, to be worthy of something, worthy of consideration by society, worthy of respect by others. And they feel miserable if they are not married. They feel like they are lacking something, that they have their value diminished or taken away from because they are unmarried. And what this does is it knocks on an individual's self-esteem. And I'm talking more about the ladies than the men. And they strive to get married. They stay unhappy if they are not married. So there are two ends to this way of looking at this. One is unhappiness for the rest of their lives if they don't get to be married, because they feel like there's a value that they don't have now that they can't ever have. Now, I'm not talking about the happiness that comes from being married. There are people who genuinely want to be married because they want family and all of that. And when they don't have that, they feel like
something is missing.
Something is missing in their lives. But there are people who want to get married by all means, just for society, for the perception, for the sake of what it looks like and the value that's attached to it, not necessarily for the happiness and the family in it, but the value that they will derive and the status that marriage will give them in society. So they stay unhappy as long as they are single. And if they remain single for the rest of their lives, they are going to remain unhappy for the rest of their lives, right? And the other end is where someone jumps rashly into a marriage that's not for them, and they know right from go that this is a bad decision, but because they want to attain that pedigree, that status that society has pegged for married people, they want to get there, and they overlook the red flags even when they've realized and acknowledged to themselves that this person is not the right person for me, but I want to be a married woman. This again is mostly a risk or a decision that women take. I want to be a married woman.
By fire, by force, we die here.
So you jump into it and you again remain unhappy for as long as that marriage lasts, because you want to show society that you have value. So why do you have to live your life for other people? I do not understand it. Why
this is
do you have to
pleaser?
Sacrifice your happiness just to show them? It's incredibly foolish to me.
This is Besty and Smoke podcast.
Talking the BS.
Marriage is not an achievement. It's nowhere near being an achievement. So the sooner you get that sorted out, that idea realigned, the better it is for you and for society. All of us collectively, the sooner we realize that and change the way we look at things, the better for everyone.
Certainly. I think that should wrap up our conversation for today. I've had a great time talking about this. I'm sorry if we busted your bubbles, but come on, you'd rather know now than not know what you're getting into. Even if you still want to get into it, at least you know. You're better off knowing. That's what I say all the time. Better off knowing.
Remember, it's your life. Reality is the only reality you can get. Until the next time we are here.
Ciao.
This is Besty and Smoke podcast.
Talking the BS.